Daddy eats lots. Daddy eats lots. Daddy eats lots. Munch, munch, munch.
Hello and welcome to Daddy Eats Last, where we discuss the challenges of being a man in modern society and whatever the hell that even means. I'm Kane, and joining me this evening are both the boys, Ryan and Maddie. Firstly, gents, how was another weekend in isolation? Although, Maddie, Queensland, a little bit less ISO this week.
Yeah, evening, boys. Good to be back on deck for another episode. We had a low isolation weekend this weekend, I guess. We didn't go anywhere really, but we had some visitors over. We had Kim's family, and the kids both had some play dates today over at our house, which was good to get that back in the mix again. Hear the kids playing. So yeah, had a really nice weekend. How
do you decide on the play dates thing? Because we've had a couple of offers of play dates down this way, and we're like, we're not sure on that yet. Like my parents came over the first time we've seen them in like 2 months, and my little fella was pretty chuffed to see them and get horsey back rides from his pop. But how do you decide on the play dates thing's an interesting one. Is there any sort of rationale behind that, or it's just like, oh yeah, we're all good?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much we're all good, and this stems from a few weeks back when because next door to us we have the neighbours have two kids, a little bit older than our kids, albeit, but they tend to play with each other quite frequently. And at first, when they were playing, there was an instance there. I thought to myself, "Oh, shouldn't this be happening?" But then the neighbours sort of said, "Well, look, if they were at school, which they could have been, they'd be playing with kids anyway." So from there, I've sort of thought, well, the kids can sort of play with each other. And this weekend, we just thought, well, look, if they're going back to school, they've only got 1 more week of isolation before they go back to school anyway. So having a couple of kids over probably isn't the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. These are the same neighbours where you did your very, I'm not sure what the right word is, your beep test with.
Yes.
I was going to use a sort of a derogatory result-based word to describe your performance of the beep test, but that's the same neighbours.
Yeah, they're the same neighbours. Yeah, those guys.
Yeah, well, yeah. We've our little fella goes back to kinder on the 25th of May, so we've been tossing and turning because we have the option of sending him back or not for the rest of the term, and we're tossing and turning about it. But at the moment, given the data, and we were less comfortable with him going in March when he was still meant to be going than going back now. So I think we're broadly pretty happy with unless you're working at Faulkner McDonald's or the Cedar Meat plant down here, you're pretty safe down in Melbourne as well. So it's an interesting one. What about you, Ryan? How is London town?
London, it's still generally just a bit of a shit show over here. We really have very little change. I mean, there was an announcement made last Sunday night that we can now do unlimited exercise instead of 1 hour a day. But yeah, we're not going to have any shops open until June, hospitality at best July. So really just kicking on as per lockdown. I decided to shave my work from home beard because after 2 months of having it, and I only thought this thing would last for 2 months, I realized that no, it's going to last at least another 2 more months. So I'm going to shave it and grow it again.
I love it.
For something to do.
Beard comes off, beard goes on. Beard comes off, beard goes on.
Bed goes up, bed goes down.
Indeed. Well, what I took out of that is obviously it's difficult in London at the moment, but given that you can do unlimited exercise, you're going to start training for another marathon.
Oh, that's actually not a bad idea.
Oh no.
Maybe. I mean, it's a perfect time to be doing marathon training in London. It's getting a bit warmer. I run sort of 7Ks every second day, so maybe I'll put a bit more rigor to it. I don't know that I'll do another marathon, but I might set myself up for a half.
Yeah, no, I read a tweet the other day, and it was about Tiger Woods, and somebody had asked Tiger Woods, and this is an interview, and someone asked Tiger Woods, and this is to do with running, so I'm not going off on too much of a tangent here. They asked Tiger Woods, what is your biggest regret? The biggest regret in, I assume it was life-based. I don't know the context. Hopefully it wasn't life-based because he's done some crazy shit. But his response was, I ran too much when I started on the tour. I used to run 30 Ks a month and it destroyed 30 Ks a week and it destroyed my body. So if that's Tiger Woods' biggest regret, maybe, you're just running on the pavements is maybe not the way to go.
Maybe I'll just keep it nice and low. But yeah, we're keeping routine, which is about the best that we can do over here, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, you did get over to London just before all this kind of went down, and this is what we wanted to discuss tonight. Is obviously, currently flying is off the radar. To just throw a bad dad joke pun in there, it's off the radar, so we can't fly anywhere. But we thought we'd share some old stories of flights we've had, and obviously, Ryan, you went over to London. In the very front, the pointy end, you basically were sitting next to the pilot, were you not?
Yes. This will be one of those things of, Sonny, let me tell you a story. Back in the day, we used to travel in aeroplanes before, the nasty COVID virus came through.
On points. On points as well. Frequent flyer points were a thing back in 2019.
They were. They, unlike Virgin, who have gone under and maybe lost their points. But no, so probably a little bit of context. So yes, we did fly over here first class the whole way, very pointy end of the plane on Emirates. I certainly did not pay for that. So a bit of context in that, as you said, on frequent flyer points, I think it cost me about 430,000 frequent flyer points. But I had been flying for 6-7 years, a lot for work, and we ran a lot of our business expenses through points cards and all that kind of thing. And I was still am, not that it's of any use at the moment, but a gold frequent flyer. So it was very lucky enough to when we planned the big move and figured that, well, I've got to use these Qantas points, otherwise they might go up the shit, and didn't expect that a virus would kill flying. But I thought, well, you only live once, and I'll blow them all on one unforgettable flight. And it truly was unforgettable.
Now, we have to clarify here, it was one unforgettable flight for two people. You didn't sit TK back in economy.
No. I'd still have a lot more points if I didn't. It was 430,000 for the both of us. It was funded on my work flying escapades as a bit of a thank you for putting up with my work travel lifestyle, let's say.
So first class, that I assume first class is beyond business class. That's next level.
It is next level business class.
So what does one get in first class?
You start with you get all the you get a first class lounge. You don't even get a business class lounge. You get a first class lounge when you get to the airport, which is like a business lounge plus. So that's very nice. So
we're talking something a little bit. We're talking something a little bit higher class than Qantas Club or the Virgin Lounge.
Absolutely.
You could wear thongs.
You certainly could not wear thongs. But surprisingly, I'm wearing my Emirates slippers this morning here in London whilst recording this with you guys, that I got on my first class flight.
Brilliant.
And I still have you get a beautiful set of pajamas, which are now like my pajamas. But yeah, you go in, enter a different part of the plane. You get all these different lines and everything, which is lovely. And then you're greeted with, you get this whole pod, and there's a door, so you can actually shut your door. We were sitting in pods next to each other, so there's like a barrier that you can press to, bring it down, or you can press to bring it up, depending on who you're sitting next to. But you can completely close off your own little type room, full bed, TV, table, and then they give you a menu. And you start off with, I think it was an 18-year-old Dom Perignon champagne.
Wow.
Don't correct. I'm not a champagne connoisseur, so if I've said that wrong, that's a mistake. But yeah, so you start off with like I think we were a 2000. It was from the year 2000 champagne. There's a complete cocktail list. So you ask for a scotch, and they'll just bring you out as a baseline Johnny Blue. But the big difference that I found between first class and business class was the lounge, definitely. And I wish I had more time at the Dubai first class lounge, because they have a full restaurant and you get to order whatever you want and you get catered. And that's also the other big difference with the flight is you get a menu, you get to have whatever you want, whenever you want. So like, I think we flew out at like 7:30 in the morning Melbourne time, and I ordered a filet mignon steak for breakfast.
Wow.
Like a full steak meal with a I think a glass of red from Bordeaux in France. So it's just basically you're on call in terms of whatever you want. And the other big difference is there is a genuine shower in first class, and they will ask you, when would you like a shower? They'll schedule you in, and yeah, you are having a shower whilst being 5,000 miles up in the air.
Tell you what, don't worry about the mile high club. Just get in the first class. That's yeah. You had me at pod where you could put something up between me and the person next to me, which would inevitably be my partner. Like the fact that I could put up a barrier. That's, you had me at that, let alone a fillet on like a steak meal and a shower.
Yep. Yeah, and you get the like.
I haven't even done that on the ground.
You get the little toiletries and all that, and I was talking to TK, and I was like, "Oh, this was like a really good perfume or whatever," and just the brands. I had no idea what any of them were, but she did, and she's like, "That is this," and you look it up, and you're just like, "It's insane." Yeah, so it is. If you do, I'm very fortunate and privileged to have been able to blow all my points on the one flight. I can't think of another time that I'm going to fly first class, but if you ever do get the chance to fly it, yeah, definitely take it. It's one of those bucket list tick items.
Was there Wi-Fi? What was the entertainment like?
Yeah,
did you just get reruns of Home and Away, or did they at least up the entertainment?
No, the entertainment. So you have like a full TV. Like instead of just on the back, you're in this pod. I think it was like a proper like 32-inch screen that was put on the back of the chair in front of me. And you just got movie galore. I think I watched Band of Brothers. I powered through that. And I watched, I watched one of the best movies I've ever watched. It'll come back to me in the time of this.
It must have been excellent if you can't remember the name of it.
No, it's going to really annoy me. It had Morgan Freeman in it, and it's about the prison thing. And
Shawshank Redemption.
That's the one. So I got to watch that in first class. And yeah, the entertainment, you've just got a myriad of movies, TV shows. I'm sure you do have Wi-Fi. I chose to stay off Wi-Fi because I wanted just the peace of the flight. But yeah, you are spoiled on every occasion.
Mate, beats a £17 flight to the Ryanair flight to Milan that you didn't end up getting to take, I guess.
Well, yeah, my next flight after first class, just before lockdown, was a £20 flight to Oslo in Norway on Ryanair. Went from creme de la creme first class with Emirates to crammed, tucking your shoulders in Ryanair. Make sure you've got a backpack and only, otherwise you're paying for extra luggage.
Well, I got nothing like first class. I've done a business class flight before for long haul, and that was a wedding gift. So I've done business class before, but the only thing I really remember from that was the fact that Charlie Pickering was also in business class, and I remember just seeing his butt crack when he's putting his pajamas on. So that's my main memory of business class. Charlie Pickering's crack. But it was good. It was a good crack. No, and the flight was good too. The flight was great. But what about you, Maddie? You've done lots of flying. Business class. Any funny flight stories? I know we've been on a flight to India, which was nothing like first class or business class.
No, it wasn't as good as that. Geez, a shower and 30,000 feet. Pretty hard to beat. Although that flight, one of the flights to India came, we did have it felt like premium economy, as we had no seats in front of us and we could stretch out while we clinked our plastic glasses together for a Jim Beam and Cokes. It was quite good.
That was all to do with you. You had planned that out to the minute. The fact that you had to log on at X time to check in, and you picked specific seats which we were going to sit at for that exact reason. So, mate, you're a very diligent planner. I know at some point, luckily you didn't go down the path of being like a. We've discussed this before on Daddy Eats Last, where you wanted to book people's holidays. So that would be it'd be a pretty shit job at the moment in COVID-19. You'd be basically on JobKeeper or JobSeeker.
I'd be twiddling my thumbs, wouldn't I?
Yeah, but you planned that to the exact second.
Yeah, it is a little hobby of mine. But yeah, so I've flown business class as well, but nothing to the extent of probably you guys. It was I've flown twice, which is Brisbane to Melbourne, so just a standard flight, nothing really special about that. The other time I flew business was just out of sheer luck. We were flying from LA to Vegas, Kim and I, on our honeymoon, and even though it's only a 45-minute flight, we got to sit in the front row, and I got a free Budweiser, so happy days there.
Hey, it still counts. It still counts. It's still business class. Free Budweiser.
That's true. Yeah. It was frozen though, so for most of the flight, I'm just sort of warming with my hands, trying to get the.
Well, we brought up like getting a premium economy on a flight to India before. That wasn't the flight I was talking about. There was one flight, and I used to go to India every sort of 3 months for work. And one of the times Matthew came along with me, and we had a great time having run-offs in the gymnasium to see who could run further on the treadmill. I was trying to introduce Maddie to food which was Indian food and not the muesli bars he'd packed to bring along, a la Shane Warne. But yeah, I used to go for it like sort of a week. So I'd get there on, Sunday night India time, last flight. And I've told that story before, I think on Daddy Eats Last, if not. But basically, first flight I got there, I left, it was 8 degrees. I arrived in India at the equivalent of 4 a.m. Australian time or midnight India time. Last person getting off the plane. And, I step off and there's guys with machine guns and it's like 400 degrees, pretty much 400 degrees. And I got on the plane, it was 8 degrees in Melbourne. I stayed there for a week. On the Friday, leave at the CEO, close business on Friday, get on a flight to Chennai, and then from Chennai to Singapore. And we were flying from Coimbatore. So Coimbatore to Chennai is about an hour's flight, and then you fly from Chennai home, or home enough. And the flight from Chennai is about midnight India time. So at this point, we've been up since, I guess, sort of 8 a.m. that day. It's about midnight Chennai time. And we board this flight, and Maddie and I sit either side of this screaming 2-year-old kid. And I just look at Maddie and I just go, we just kind of just gave each other one of those knowing looks like, are you for real? And now that's how, if we were going to get on a flight with our kids, we'd be that person.
That's how it would be. Yeah, that was enough to put you off from having kids probably back then, I think.
Yeah, except it didn't.
No, I didn't. No, 3 times. Yeah, but that airport in Coimbatore, I'll never forget that because it's more like back then. This was 2011, I think. I went to the UK. It was like almost like a worse than an Avalon type setup, wasn't it? It was just a sort of tin sheds everywhere, and you're right. There was very confronting seeing. Well, for me, because I'd been to Europe, but I hadn't been to any of the Asian sort of countries. And yeah, seeing the machine guns there and the tin sheds, and then you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and you step out into like the night, and it's like the dead of night, but it's 35 degrees, and there's still like 1,000 people just kind of on the streets waiting for people on the back of their motorbike. So then you see people disembarking with getting on the back of a motorbike with a big suitcase on the back of the motorbike as well.
Yeah,
I reckon
it's very different.
Yeah, so I reckon one of the flights I've been treated like I've been in business class despite being in economy before. Like I used to do a bit of up and back into Sydney's in a day, so you'd get the first flight at sort of 5:30, and then back to Melbourne you get a late flight, usually sort of 8 or 9 o'clock, depending on what you had on during that day. And I was just in economy class. I had an aisle seat, and the steward, what are they called? The people who come up and down with drinks and food and snacks and stuff.
Flight attendants.
Yeah, flight attendants, those guys. And it was a guy. And that's the crux of the story is that, this flight attendant was basically hitting on me, and I just played along to get free drinks.
Well done.
It was the best sort of hour
No
and a half.
shame.
Yeah, no, hour and a half flight. I just let this guy kind of just kind of openly flirt with me. He just kept on bringing me scotch. Right. So it was like it was almost like I was in first class, and I could have probably booked a shower with him, but there wasn't one on board.
One of the flights I won't forget is we did the White Christmas back in 2013, and the flight home we were flying Qantas from London to Singapore. Midway through the flight, someone had fallen ill, and they had to make an emergency landing in Dubai. And that was before the Qantas Dubai partnership, so they really had sort of no authorities or they could land due to the medical emergency, but no one could get off the plane. They couldn't land at the actual where the planes join up to the airport, whatever that's called. They didn't have permission for that, so they had to wait for an ambulance to come to the actual plane on the runway and escort the sick person off the plane. So it added an extra 5 hours onto the flight, so we missed the connecting flight in Singapore and had to stay an extra night there. But I just remember being on the tarmac at Dubai for quite a period of time, and the amount of whinging and whining that was going on, and the abuse towards the flight attendants, which was totally, not their fault. It just showed how abusive some Aussies can be, and there was limited food as well because they had to ration it out. And we had Mia at the time who was 6 months old, so it was a bit scary in terms of nappy changing and formula and all that kind of stuff.
What happens in that sort of environment where there's an issue like that and you have to stay in an airport for the day? Do they just, you miss your connecting flight? Is that taken care of? Do you have to organise that yourself? How does that work?
No, it was very seamless. Like we arrived in Singapore, and there was 2 connecting flights from Singapore. So one going to Brisbane, one going to Sydney around that time, I think. And they had just set everything up for us. So we waited around Singapore for maybe half an hour maximum, and the buses arrived for us to take us to Qantas must have a designated hotel for that type of situation. And when we got to the hotel, they had the buffet there ready for us to go. So we got meals and also some food vouchers as well. And we were out the next day. So it was all pretty quick. So there was enough time for the girls and Kim's parents to just do a bit of walking around. There was a big shopping centre where we were staying, so they got to see a bit of that. I just opted to stay in the room and relax and get some sleep. But yeah, it was very well handled.
Lovely. I think before we wrap up tonight, guys, one question for you both, and I'll answer this question as well. When this all blows over in 2021 or 2022 or 2023, and we can get back on a plane and travel somewhere, or just travel somewhere full stop, where's the first place you're going to want to go and why?
Ooh, good question. Depending on when, if somehow it all blows over and I can get on a plane by September, I will be going to France to try and climb Mont Blanc for my birthday this year. But as that's highly unlikely, probably. So we've lost a trip to Milan, which we were booked for in March. We lost Prague for Easter. And we've lost New York, which we were supposed to be in last week, which is probably a good thing with everything going on down there. But I'd probably jump on a plane to either Prague or Portugal, very high on the hit list.
Yeah, I think either of those would be lovely. I've always had a soft spot for Portugal, despite never going, and Prague at 6:30 in the morning is probably the most beautiful city you could ever go to. At midday, it's wild. But yeah, first thing in the morning when there's no one around, it's such a delightful city, especially. But yeah, they're great selections. Oh, you, Matthew, do you have anything which is a sort of burning desire? I'll finish off with a really lame one, so I'll let you guys lead off with some good places first.
Burning desire. Ultimately, we want to do another White Christmas, so that'll probably be, funds pending, of course, maybe 2021, 2022. But I really want to go back to China. I'm not sure Australians might be allowed back there, but I've just got a bit of unfinished business there. I had such a great time in the week I went there last year with my mum and sister. I just love to get back there. But burning desire is always going to be Everest Base Camp. So
Well, you
Yes,
both
I
like
think
you both like your mountains, Mont Blanc and Everest. Well, do keep training for your marathon, Ryan. You might run your base camp marathon.
Maybe.
Yeah, mine's exceptional. I mean, in all honesty, once this ends, I'm just looking forward to. I just want to go up to Hillsville. There's an RACV club up in Hillsville. It's just kind of remote, and no one goes there, and I can just sit there all day and just drink tea in front of the fire. Hopefully, it's in winter, so it's not anywhere exotic. It's not anywhere people would think would be much fun, but it's just it's almost like self isolation, but actually by myself.
by yourself.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if you're anything like me, Matthew. Like we've been at home with kids and everyone for 3 or 4 months. I think you need a little bit of alone time as well, and that's hard to get when everyone's basically living on top of each other and with each other.
That's very true.
But that's me. Anyway, that does wrap it up for this week. Remember to subscribe to Daddy Eats Last on iTunes if you haven't done already. And while you're there, please leave a review. Also, tell your mates about the podcast, especially if they are guys. Most of all, thanks for listening. And a special thanks to that Stuart who gave me all those drinks so long ago. It was such a great flight. We'll be back next week for another episode, or should I say serving of Daddy Eats Last. How's that for a dad joke? Catch you next week.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.